everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another monthly challenge video. I decided to take on the challenge of creating video game from scratch back in the middle of November last year. And yep, procrastination totally hit me. During week 1 and 2, I familiarized myself with the environment by watching several tutorial videos, and I'll include the video links below. After installing, I begin by creating the player, which I temporarily replaced with a circle. First, I was able to make it move upwards by pressing the up arrow key, then apply gravity by adding a rigid body component. After that, create a ground surface for player to rest on, and also enable the movement to the right and left by pressing the respective arrow keys. Next, I start creating bullet and bullet spawner for the player. Oh, by the way, I'm making a snowman game where the snowman is on a journey to find its hat while defeating the fire enemies. Winter season is already over, and I'm uploading this on few months after, but that's okay. Hopefully, y'all can still feel the winter vibe while watching this video. This part took longer than I thought, with some compilation errors and stuff not working right here and there. I've set it so the bullet shoots whenever the spacebar is pressed. Notice, I set the bullet to be kinematic, which caused a problem I'll show later. Next, I created the fire enemies, but for now, I've temporarily replaced them with 2 capsules. I'm gonna randomize it so that each time, either enemy 1 or 2 will appear. Let's see if it works as expected. Looks like too many enemies are being generated, but we can fix that later. By right, when player hits the enemy, it should disappear. But now the camera keeps following the player, and it throws an error after player disappear. So, I added precautions in the camera follow script. The tutorial from Free Code Camp is comprehensive. I learned this from there as well. Some of the platforms discussing quests related to Unity were helpful to me too. Finally, it is working now. As I mentioned earlier, I set the enemy to kinematic too, and it doesn't disappear after colliding with a bullet. While scrolling through the platforms discussing Unity, I found that collisions don't work if both are kinematic, so I fixed that. Moving into week 3, I started drawing the characters and background elements using Procreate. Since I'm working on a 2D game, I think it should be sufficient for sketching, but if I were to take on the challenge of creating 3D video game in the future, I would definitely need more advanced tools like Maya or Blender, which I'm quite looking forward to make my very first 3D video game this year. Hopefully, I can complete in shorter time. Yeah, I was stuck drawing the curve line. I decided to start the drawing in week 3 instead of week 1, mainly because I wanted to get the logical code working first, especially with the worry that I couldn't even make the circle move. Moving to week 4, I started wrapping up the project by making some improvements and adding features like game over scene. I also modified the code to make the bullet disappear after a certain delay. Related to that, I watched those tutorial videos multiple times and practiced on my own to figure out how it actually works. I'm not new to programming, but I'm still at an entry-level stage, and Unity was entirely unfamiliar to me. It took me about a month to complete this while managing my busy full-time job. Also, I feel that satisfaction comes from completing this project. It is a case of learning by doing. While I understand there's room for improvement in my 2D game, and there are quite a few minor bugs I didn't fix by the end of the 1-month challenge, I'll showcase them later in this video. For now, I'll leave it here and aim to improve next time. Back to topic, I'm working on some animations for the scene after the snowman finds its hat. I planned 2 levels, so there are 3 animations of the player in total. Moving to the next one, it is not an improvement, but I added the essential element, the hat, which triggers the completion of the levels. I created 4 hat spawn points and added randomization. So, it might appear in different locations each time the game is played. The method for these spawn points was similar to the enemies, where the possible positions were decided beforehand. I also wanted to limit the number of enemies generated, otherwise I wouldn't be able to eliminate all of them and move to next level. I randomized the count and restricted the number of enemies spawned every round. It sounds like an easy task, but I made a mistake by running the randomization inside fixed update function, which is called multiple times during the game. So, I moved it to start function, and it works perfectly now. As shown in the display message, only 8 enemies generated this round. Moving to the background setup, I also randomized the number and position of the elements. One improvement I can make is to avoid duplicating elements in the background. For example, once an element is placed at a position, that coordinates should be excluded from the following randomizations. And this should be applied to all elements, including the trees and snowflakes. For the time being, there's high chance that those elements will overlap, so it looks kinda messy to me. But it is what it is. Next, I created a simple main menu a really simple one. Let's get started and play the game now. Eventually, I came up with two versions, one with main menu and the other with two levels. The one I played here was the first version. Oh, the speed of the enemies is also randomized, so some of them appear on the scene in a short time. Yeah, I like randomization. I didn't intentionally lose to show the game over scene, really. Let's take a closer look at the first version. It was painful debugging over and over, and this project was really challenging for me, plus I avoided to use ChatGPT, which could have typed the code in seconds. It is definitely something that pushed me out of my comfort zone, but you get to see the outcome this way. The reason I decided to take on this challenge at the end of last year is that I realized that I hadn't learned any new skills from my list back then. And I guess it is not too late now to start for the 2025 one. This is second version, which has two levels. In the second levels, the snowman has to find its scarf. Once again, I randomized the scarf's position. The animation will also be different from the first level, which you see in a second. A peek to see what it looks like, but it was a bug actually. It will be shown after completing first level, prior to second level. Fun fact, my initial plan was to make a cooking video game. Now, I'm grateful that I took this one instead. In order to complete this level, I set it up so that you need to hit at least 3 red balls to get the scarf. For the next level, I might make things more challenging, maybe adding a stage layout or having the enemy shoot bullets too. This is the end of my 2D video game. Hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.